Hey, you! It's slender.
All right, me at home. Me at home in one piece. We've got Adventure Dog on the floor with her daily elk bone. God, the poor thing, I feel bad for her sometimes. Like I went out in the woods all day yesterday by myself. I feel bad because when I leave in the morning without her, she doesn't have a clue if I'm coming back or not. Because when I do leave, I go for a while, right? A couple weeks at a time, 3 weeks at a time. So she's so happy when I come home, the poor thing. So yeah, for all those who wonder why I let her come in here and chew her bone in the morning with me, big deal. Doesn't annoy me the slightest. She can chew on that bone all she wants while we talk here. But anyway, where to start? What am I doing? Kick my brain in gear. I finally finished, for all you hunters out there, I finally finished cleaning up the skull on that recent deer I brought home. Oh, and here he is. I don't know if it fits in here or not. It's a big buck. I'm just trying to get as close to me as possible so I'm not trying to exaggerate it. But anyways, big muley. Clean it all up. And then I'll put him on the wall, and it's another memory. Another great memory. Another great memory. Old, mature buck. Just what the doctor ordered. It's fun to compare him with the other ones I had, but the other 3 are at my friend's place getting mounted. I had one of them, my largest one ever. Some moths got to him over the years, and all the fur started falling out of the bases. They chew the fur loose at the base and ruined it. So I just took the antlers back off of that mount and had them sitting on the wall. And then the last 3 years in a row, I've got a record book sized mule deer. So I decided to get the other 2, and my friend had an extra cape, which is the leather, the skin, to mount them in a shoulder mount. He had one in the freezer. So I said, oh, okay, well, and he traded me for a day's salmon charters. Anyway, so I said, well, the hell, I'm going to get all 3 of these big monster bucks mounted up. Look cool. So that's where they are right now. And now I got this one. So, anyway, what was I saying? I gotta get my actual how-to hunt channel ripping up with more knowledge, you know? And I think maybe after this I will do I think I'm gonna make a how-to video and help some people, because I know there's a lot of people out there that need help, right? When it comes to hunting. And I want to help them to figure out how to find a new hunting spot on their own without poaching somebody's hard-earned spot, and how to do it and how to consistently get mature old bucks or elk or whatever they're after, all right? Because I've got the recipe. I got the recipe. It's not an ego thing, it's just what I have focused my life on. One of the major things that I focused my life on, and I figured it out. And there's a lot of people out there that they just rely on, I'm gonna go with a buddy and he knows where so-and-so is going. We're gonna go over here and these guys went over there and these guys. Quit it. Man the F up and go out and find your own spot. You know what I mean? And learn how to do it. And that memory is just so much more sweet. You know, when you smash that goal, it's so much more sweet. Instead of being held by the hand and taken to so-and-so's cousin's spot where they got a big buck the past couple of years, you know? It's one thing, I know it's a little off topic, but one thing when it comes to hunting and fishing, every single human being has that one person they trust to tell the secret to. Everyone, trust me, I know this. Me, I keep my mouth shut. I don't say shit. But it's in the past, you know, when somebody has a spot and then they take someone, doesn't matter who it is, that person they take, even though they swear to you secrecy, they have someone they're going to tell. Every time. And they do. Every time. And then all those years and all that sweat, time, and money that you donated to figuring out that spot on your own is now ruined. It's ruined forever. It's not just a temporary ruin. It's ruined forever. Because then the next time, that one guy that told so-and-so, well, that so-and-so brings another friend and they go there, don't say anything. And then they bring a friend and so on and so on. And next thing you know, your spot where you park looks like a Walmart parking lot. And I've had it happen to me a few times in the past. I've watched it happen. I've watched extreme examples of it happen. And it's just, in a way, it just makes you nauseous. Makes me nauseous because one thing that I try to create for me is absolute just me and my hunting spot, that mountain, those woods, one-on-one, secluded, no interruptions, nobody chasing me around, and I can focus and I can do what I want, how I want to do it, and have results like this every year. Anyway, I'm babbling, but I think I'll make a video on just that, and I'll put it on the How to Hunt YouTube channel. How to find your spot on your own and keep it a secret and learn how to hunt it and learn how to manage it for conservation, making sure you only take these big prime old specimens, way more meat for the freezer on them, and keep that going, right? I'll make that video and share that up. Now, what's going on? I could babble on about some other shit, but I'm not. I'm going to get right into hearing people. So, let's get into this and hear some voices, alright? Besides just my annoying shit. South Oregon Witness Film is the title of this email into us. I love your vids. In Oregon, I've heard triple knocks at 3 a.m. in the forest. Also heard movement and ground stomping and heavy breathing near the tent at 2 a.m. Both at around 5,000 feet. My brother heard a story of one running near a Boy Scout troop late at night. They woke up the next a.m. to see bloody deer bones left on a table nearby. A good friend, a woman, says her sister saw a female at 150 yards, eye contact, and then slipped away. This woman also knows a couple with footage, but they don't want to share it. Don't want attention. Prefer their rural anonymity. John M. All right. Short, straight to the point. Yep, it always seems to be the theme. Somebody's got a clear, somebody has clear footage, somebody has clear photos, somebody has clear trail cam photos. I've heard it all. And the constant theme with it is, they don't want to share it, they want to keep it secret, or like those one old guys say that apparently have clear trail camera pictures of two of them. Well, you just got to be careful with that stuff, you know. Do ya? What do you got to be careful about? Is it going to blow up and blow up the house or something? It's got a virus attached to it. Sorry, stop myself from being a dick. One of my pet peeves is people being scared. I hate it. I hate people being scared. Well, I got this clear photo, but I don't want anybody to know. You know, you got to be careful with this shit. Shut up. God. Give it to your cousin. Give it to your neighbor. Give it to somebody else, and they can share it. Make up a fake email. Whatever. Do I give a shit about a film? Nope, I won't even email the person back. Whatever. They want to send it, but there is ways around it. Does the audience want to see it? You're damn right they want to see it. There you go. Appreciate the email in. Maybe send your friends with the video footage this video maybe. They probably won't share it because I'll hurt their feelings. Now, Bigfoot Story is the title of this email. Hello, Steve. I have a quick but very true story for you concerning a Sasquatch encounter. First of all, I've never seen a Sasquatch. However, I'm positive they exist. There's too much proof considering the footprints and sightings alone. Not to mention the DNA, the videos, and the pictures, etc. But on to the story. Agreed. This story is what made my eyes open to the existence about these creatures. It's about an encounter that happened back in the late 70s. It happened to my cousin. His name is also Steve. And Steve is definitely one of the most honest people I know, and his honesty is what caused me to look into the subject in depth. His story goes like this. Back in the late 70s when Steve was in his mid-teens, he went squirrel hunting one morning by himself, alone with his back against an oak tree. Sitting with his single-shot 20 gauge by his side, Steve was hoping to harvest a few squirrels for that evening's dinner. Steve killed one right off the bat, and then another. He bagged his squirrels, reloaded, and prepared for the next one. Steve was facing a flat with a deep hollow to his left and a small hill to his right. With 2 squirrels in his bag, he was on high alert. When he heard the leaves rustling from the hill to his right, and as he readied himself for what he thought was his next squirrel, he was surprised by a 7-foot solid white Sasquatch that came down the hill and stopped around 20 yards in front of him. It was then that the creature noticed him, stopped, and locked eyes with him. It was then that this creature let out a huge scream and slowly walked toward the hollow. It again stopped and looked back at Steve, and he said that when it stopped, that it started hitting a tree with the palms of its hands and then it left. Interesting. Finally, one of very few people that see the sound being made. Steve left his bag of squirrels and hightailed it home. And it was 2 years before he would go back into the woods. Well, that's not bad. 2 years for your average person. Some don't ever go back. Where this happened is only a few hundred yards from where he lives now. Wow. He has said many times that he'll be in his living room and he'll look out to see if he sees anything. He told me recently that there's never a time that he climbs into a tree stand that he doesn't think, am I going to see another one today? And as a side note, Steve did some digging and found out that he wasn't the only one that had seen this creature. Someone had actually published a story about seeing a white Bigfoot in one of the older but local newspapers. He told me recently that there's never a time that he climbs into a tree stand that he doesn't think, am I going to see another one today? And as a side note, Steve did some digging and found out that he wasn't the only one that had seen this creature. Someone had actually published a story about seeing a, quote, white Bigfoot, end quote, in one of the older but local newspapers. End of email. Yeah, I'd say 100% of every single person that has this reality slapped in the face, every single one of us thinks that every time we go into the woods. I do. Well, I don't think it that intensely, but I'm not climbing out of the truck. Usually I'm trying to block it up by saying, I know you're here. Leave me alone. I'm just going hunting. I'm not into this shit, which I'm not. Unless you could speak fluent English back and forth, honestly, I'd probably be into it. But other than that, why bother? Leave me alone. I'm going hunting. Good for him for still going back out there. And I'm surprised he hasn't had anything else happen around his house. That only happened a couple hundred yards away, right? Appreciate that share, man. Send it to your buddy. Send this video to your buddy to make sure he knows. Make sure he knows that he's not alone. What do we got? This is titled Nephilim. I made some progressions in my research into this topic as well. Having only heard them and not seen them, it's hard for me to differentiate between authentic and fake evidence a lot of the time. As far as I knew, there was no legit uncontaminated DNA results. Well, that's actually a load of shit that people have been throwing down mainstream. It wasn't contaminated and it is legit. It is interesting it says always mother human, father unknown. Bingo! Negative blood types can only procreate in the same manner. Being A and having a child, you find out about this little hiccup in the human breeding population. A rhesus negative blood type man can procreate with a rhesus positive female, no problem. No help from doctors needed. However, a rhesus negative female impregnated by a rhesus positive male will require medication to prevent the female body from naturally aborting the child, attacking the fetus, as the same as bacteria. Wow, that's interesting. Also, no research has been done to find out the cause of the different blood types and don't really know what happened to cause this. I know of no species on Earth that members of it genetically aren't compatible within their own species. So your comment was an aha moment for me and thought you might find that info useful as it doesn't interject itself throughout the research of this topic. It also freaks me out that I'm A minus and what that could mean if there ends up being a correlation. Ha! Anyways, truly enjoy your talks. Take care, family. Brad Sorensen. Brad, appreciate that heads up and that little shared tidbit. That is freaking interesting. What about the rhesus man? What does it take for the rhesus man to get pregnant? Kidding. Right? Amazing, isn't it? What the mainstream has society arguing about these days. Holy shit, if you actually take the bait and allow yourself to get in even on that discussion, you're done for. One ear out the other. Now, there you go, sleuths. Something to think about and look into, right? This next email is titled Sasquatch. Hi. First of all, thank you so much for your videos on Sasquatch. I have sent this to 2 email addresses just to ensure you get the email. I don't want you to tell anyone of what I have experienced, but I think this is perhaps somewhat important. Okay, let me read that one more time. I don't want you to tell anyone of what I have experienced, but I think this is perhaps somewhat important. I have had a massive bipedal being walk past me in the woods in the pitch black, and later saw a being coming from the same wooded area that I would say was about 12 foot tall. There are many, many details I wish not to mention here. Why not? Suffice to say that I have had experiences with what I consider some type of Sasquatch, and when people talk of Sasquatch, I pay attention. So when you mention the idea of the Sasquatch or Nephilim, for many reasons I was irked. The easiest to explain is that the Bible refers to the Nephilim as men. I have researched this topic extensively and never have I heard of a Sasquatch with a human face. This has got to be an old email because it's been mentioned about 99% of the time here. Plus, of course, they always have hair all over, so they are very different looking than you and I. And I am human, by the way. Though they are some type of humanoid, they are not what we are. Ergo, to casually refer to them as men and not mention how very different, other than in size, they are to normal humans would not make sense. And therefore, I cannot accept that these passages are referring to these Sasquatch beings. The Bible calls the Nephilim men of renown, Genesis 6:4. I hope you see what I mean. Wishing you the best, and thanks again for your videos. They're highly appreciated. God bless. May God bless and protect you with love from blank. I'll leave your name out. There you go. Well, unfortunately, my man, about 99% of the people here that have had broad daylight sightings all said it was more man than not. It wasn't a monkey or a gorilla, it was a man. About 99%. Now, I don't know how many, maybe people have been keeping count. I think we're probably talking in the tens of... How many freaking emails have I shared here, you guys? In what, 4 years or something? Holy shit. 4 years? 5? I don't know. Thousands for sure. Thousands. Keep digging. Keep digging. I don't know when that email came in. It must have been in the beginning. Anvil Island. I've been on Anvil Island. About 32 years ago. All right. Hey, mate. I was on an overnighter with my Camp Latona groups. As a 10-year-old camper, I'm 43 now, we had rode from Gambier Island to Anvil Island and camped there for the night. The counselors sent us out to collect kindling on sunset, which we did, scrambling through the brush outside the cleared area for camping, which was still amongst the trees. Douglas firs, I don't remember. Anyway, as we collected sticks and whatnot, a group of us kids hear some extremely loud screaming coming from somewhere on the island. Far enough away that we weren't immediately scared, but close enough that we thought someone was trying to scare us. This made us laugh, albeit uncomfortably, and declare out loud, "You're not scaring us," to some other campers we thought were messing with us. Anvil was pretty remote and unpopulated there. Not the place it has become today for sure. It was only 25 years later that I heard Sasquatch screams on YouTube that this memory immediately jumped back into my mind. The screams matched what I heard that sunset. Anyway, I'm a long way from home these days over in Asia, so enjoying your videos and hoping I can make it back to the Pemby/Lillooet area for some big nature downloads sooner rather than later. Cheers, Rob. Okay, man. Well, here's what I can tell you about Anvil Island. It's definitely not populated still. There's no homes on that island. It's almost sheer rock face down to the ocean all the way around. I've been around that sucker on my boat. I think the only place where you could have camped is facing south, facing Gambier Island on the southwest corner of that island. Now listen to this, you guys. So, I don't know, this is probably 10, 11 years ago. I had my other boat in the water there. Old past girlfriend of mine and I were ripping around the islands. And there was an old BC ferry ship. Boat is a ship. They're big. Tied up against Anvil Island. Deserted. I'm like, holy shit, let's go check this shit out. And it's almost like going into a huge oversized haunted house, right? It's kind of creepy. It's a sunny day. And there's one little chunk of beach between the ferry and Anvil Island on Anvil Island. And there's cables going from the bow to shore, stern to shore. I think there's an anchor. And a huge steel ramp, like a big, huge cargo-sized door hole in the side of the hull facing the island with a metal ramp going into the beach. And I think someone, whoever had the salvage rights or whatever's going on with that BC ferry, you could probably Google it up. BC Ferry, Anvil Island. I'm sure there's a bunch of shit flying about that thing being there before they got it out of there. And I think they were slowly ripping... Well, when we went, anyway, fast forward. So I remember, I know what's running around there. And I remember thinking as we tied up my boat to it, climbed into it, and walked along the empty car deck below. It's no lights, it's real creepy. And went to where the stairwell was to go up into the ferry. And it's pitch black in that stairwell. And I remember thinking, oh man, if something's on this boat right now, this is gonna really suck. In the back of my mind, I was anticipating hearing a huge feet running across the deck somewhere and a splash or whatever. As just in the back of my mind, that was all I remember. That's all I was thinking about climbing on this frickin' huge empty ship, right? And eventually we got up the stairwell, and then seeing light came back, because we're on the main deck where everybody sits in the seats and shit. Then you could tell that they had been stripping the ship of copper wires. They're salvaging the boat. And we actually went into the captain's area and looked around in there. It's kind of weird. And there's a safe, and somebody already used a battery, whatever, a grinding wheel, and cut a hole in the safe to see if anything was in there. Nothing in there. Went through the kitchen, all the stainless kitchen decks and table, everything was still there. It was a bit of a mess. Went on the upper deck, and people had looted all the life jackets. There's still a bunch there, ropes and shit. But anyway, just letting you know, I think that beach that the ship was tied to is probably the only beach on Anvil Island that you could have tied to. Now, and there's no houses there still today. Lots of boat traffic, obviously, but now if you go directly west to the main shoreline on the other side of Howe Sound, nothing but shit going on there. Here's another one. So you guys have seen in the past, I've used this as a thumbnail of that perfect footprint in the snow. That footprint was a photograph on Gambier Island, right next to Anvil Island. And a very close friend of mine, a friend of over, I don't know, 25 years, they were riding their trials bikes on Gambier Island and up to the top somewhere, and they saw this footprint, and it scared the shit out of them when they left. They felt absolutely creeped out. Now it's like obviously brand new, that footprint. If I can find it, I don't think I got it on this phone. I'll post it again, but that's what I can share with you about Anvil Island. All right? Friend of mine found footprints right next to it on Gambier, and there's no houses there still, and it is creepier and shit around there. For sure. Now, what do we got here? This is a super freaking long book. Holy. All right, you know what? That's like it. I'm not going to mark that as read yet. What do we got here? This is titled Bigfoot. Hey, brother. I believe I've had a few strange things happen to me. I've never seen one and I don't want to. I've hunted for 36 years. I have killed several hundred whitetail and a few coyote. Several hundred whitetail. Wow, that's a lot of eating. Probably 25 years ago, I was bow hunting and found tracks. Big, barefoot human tracks. There were not many. It was in the pines where the snow was not melted. It freaked me out. I think it was there watching. The feeling I got was like I was prey. The hair stood up on my neck and I looked and I booked it out of there. I had several other strange things happen while hunting, and I'm sure I know what it was. I also have a camp and got some trail cam pics of something that knew the camera was there. The pics are of hair from what I think is an arm. The camera was 6 feet up a tree pointing down slightly, and the hair was like no hair on any animal I know. It was reddish brown, several inches long, and kind of nasty looking. It was hanging down in front of the camera. I went to camp to mow the grass one time and smelled a smell I've never experienced, and I got that same feeling of being watched. It was the same feeling like when I saw the tracks. It was not a good feeling. It was so bad, I went inside a few hours and then came out, and the feeling was gone, and I went back about my business. I've had loud slaps, or like something hitting the cabin at night. Not a lot, but several times this has happened. I think they pass through the area from time to time. I'm very aware when I'm at my cabin out hunting. It has not ruined it for me, but I'm a bit freaked out there by myself now. I have more strange things that happen, but I'll leave it at that. Just want to say, I know they're out there. I believe you. I don't want to see them. Matt. And there you go. Welcome to the club, Matt. And again, I don't give a shit if you send the picture or not, but I'll guarantee you the audience here is going to be going, why didn't you share the picture, dude? With them. All good. What we got here? Titled Sasquatch, Halliburton, and Finding Bigfoot. Hi. Enjoy your outdoor storytelling a lot, thanks. I'm pushing 66 years old, and I've been an outdoorsman my whole life. I've killed deer, wild pigs, seen cougars and bear, and everything you might expect to see in the wilderness of Northern California. Something happened to me last fall that was definitely a first. My home is so you go, what do we got? 66-year-old man, been in the woods all of his life, right? And typically that that person is going to be who says, I'm 66, I've been in the woods all my life, I haven't seen shit. Right? Until one day. Right? Until one day. I'm just sharing that because of how many people spew that shit out. I've never seen nothing. Right? Doesn't matter. Your turn may come or you're not going to get one. Who knows? My home is 3 miles east of the Pacific Ocean near the town of Mendocino. My house is on a plateau that's mostly cleared. Beneath that is a 120-foot deep ravine lined with old-growth redwood. That last time this property was logged was around 1910, and they didn't take everything. It was too steep for that. At the northeast property corner near the bottom, there's a year-round creek that runs over bedrock. I thought it'd be pretty cool to make a rock and step trail down there with a bridge across the creek. The risers are 4 inches by 8 inches by 20 inches. Pressure treated fir anchored to the ground on edge with 5/8 inch rebar and 4 to 5 foot lengths. The treads are filled with earth and then topped with drain rock. There's no thought of getting anything down there by wheelbarrow. Everything is done with 5-gallon buckets and Shank's mare. Mine is the first trail into this place. I didn't even know it existed until a few years ago. I've mushroom picked in the general vicinity and have never seen another human being there. When the light fades, it's kind of a creepy place. So, I was down by the bridge late last October. It was about 5 in the afternoon and getting pretty dark. But I was intent on finishing a few steps, which are carried down 4 at a time. When I unload them, there's nothing gentle about it. When they strike each other, they make a loud pop that may be heard from a long ways off. Uh-oh. This particular afternoon, things got particularly quiet. Then I heard a loud noise. I'm nearsighted and didn't have my glasses on at the time. There's no point in wearing them anyway because they just get all fogged up. My ears are still pretty good, and I can still sound locate fairly decently. The sound I heard was nothing I'd ever heard before. It came from about 100 to 200 yards away and across the ravine, deep in the timber. It sounded like a bass hit at a Little League game off a wooden bat. I've heard branches drop before, and it definitely wasn't that. It sounded like wood on wood with a tremendous amount of energy behind it. I remember looking at my watch and then hightailing it out of there. I told my live-in sweetheart, Judy, about what happened that evening, and she didn't sound very convinced. When I took her to the job site the next morning to show her, it was the same deal. She acted like I was playing some kind of a joke on her. Then about noon the next day, my phone went off, and it was Judy. She was freaked out. She told me she just heard the same noise right in the back of the house. I don't broadcast this story, but when I saw yours about Halliburton and the knocking that alarmed you, I felt a lot better. I don't scare easily, but what I heard that afternoon scared the hell out of me. Thanks again, Scott M. Peterson, Mendocino. Scott, appreciate it, man. You know what you heard, and you know what did it, and so do we. The Halliburton mentioned, that was probably from a long time ago what I shared with you guys. The Halliburton was doing a bunch of geothermal work in the head of the Pemberton Meadows by Mount. Oh shit, my brain just blanked out. Damn it. There's a mountain at the head of the meadows, a volcano, and they're doing work out there. And a Halliburton employee truck driver was driving out there, and it was 22 kilometers. And I know the exact spot on the road. It's the only one. There was a steep clear cut on the right hand side of the road. And he said this thing, Harry being ran across the road and booked it straight up that slash, running uphill and leaping over logs and stumps uphill, and never slowed down once, and got to the top and made it in the timber. And I think that distance from the road to the top of that cut is about 300 yards, 300 or 400 yards. Now, for one of us to go up through a slashed out cut like that with regrowth, dog shit in it, what's it going to take us, an hour? Probably to get your way up through that shit. And this sucker went running up there in seconds. Anyway, about 4 kilometers before that is where I was trapping wolves near the swamp where I built that stand, and I was slinging my Estwing hammer into the side of that huge first growth cedar tree, driving fencing staples into it. And that's when the knocking started coming back. And it was about minus 18 or 20, I think. And the knocks started coming back straight up above me and straight above me to the left, above where my sled was. So that's probably the email he was mentioning. The video he was mentioning, sorry. What do we got here? We got a dog loving her elk bone. Hey, Bubby. Happy dog. She loves these mornings, I'll tell you what. Sasquatch content is the title of this email. Hi. Great videos on YouTube. Here's a snippet of a story you can share if you so choose. Best wishes, Jeff. Let her rip, Jeff. My coworker's father is a former Washington State trooper covering Jefferson County on the Olympic Peninsula, Washington State. In around 1982, before my coworker was born, his father was driving along Route 101 on the Olympic Peninsula about 10 miles south of Klalock at about 11 p.m. Klalock at about 11 p.m. This is the vicinity of the Queets River. There was a full moon that evening. As he could see the road in the light of the moon, he had his headlights turned off. Why, I didn't know. As he rounded the corner, he switched his headlights back on, and a creature ran in front of his car across Route 101, taking 2 strides to get across the highway, Highway 101. The creature had run beside a road sign, and it was as tall as the sign. The state trooper went back to the spot the next day and measured the height of the sign. It was 8 feet tall. And no email. I can only imagine cruising around the Olympic Peninsula for a living. You're going to see shit over there. I grew up staring at the Olympic Peninsula at my bedroom window as a kid. Across Wanapeka Strait. Excuse me. I always wonder, I was so tempted to take my boat across there and go exploring. Alright, this email has 2 emails in it. Oh, one, it's a reply from me. Okay, here we go. Mark it as read. Sasquatch story. Arrow Lakes area. Been there. Helped a guy in a grizzly hunt there years ago. Thanks, Steve. No kidding. I hope I don't. Oh, okay. I gotta go to the bottom. It's his first emails at the bottom, then mine's next. I've been watching your honest and direct approach to this topic on your YouTube channel. There's so much BS out there. I'm 52 years old, a hiker/hunter my entire life. Although more of a weekend warrior when I can get away from my desk job. About 12 years ago, I bought a little lot in the Arrow Lake area of the West Kootenays. I won't get more specific on the location. Our family has enjoyed camping and the outdoors, and my son and I have enjoyed hunting and generally exploring the area. The deer hunting was very good, but has deteriorated badly in the last 5 years due to mismanagement and overpopulation of wolves in the area. Right? 2 years ago, while hunting in early October, I was out with my son, early 20s, in a section of old cut blocks we hunt often. It was early morning and nice and crisp and clear, -10 or so, and can hear everything. Elevation there is around 3,500 feet, I guess, not too high. We drove in with the truck at dawn, split up and hiked in on some old deactivated roads. Probably ended up about 1 to 2 kilometers apart. I noticed things seemed especially quiet, not a bird or squirrel stirring, no wind. I was hiking a little road that parallels a creek/swamp system, and whitetails sometimes come up from that swamp system and pop out on the road. I've taken many deer there. I was starting to walk back to my truck about 1 kilometer away when I heard a loud scream coming from the swamp bottom about 200 yards below me. It started like a human, then became a very, and I mean very loud animal sound. At first I thought it was a hunter in trouble, but I realized this is something else. No hunter could make that loud a sound, and it was not really human. Then, about 20 seconds later, it screamed again, about 100 yards further down the swamp. I immediately thought, holy shit, that's a Sasquatch. I don't believe any bear or cat can make that sound. I could actually feel it reverberate throughout the trees and me. That is so frickin' intense, isn't it? I moved down the road to a straight section where I could see about 200 to 300 yards. In case it crossed, I wanted to see it. And maybe send off a warning shot to warn my son if it was heading his way. No way I would ever shoot one of those things. I just have a feeling that's bad karma, and it was minding its own business, and we were in its backyard anyway. I let off one more Sorry, it let off one more third scream further away. It was clearly moving away and not toward our direction, thank God, and following the swamp system out of there. I hustled back to the truck and met my son. He had big eyes and he heard it also, even though he was at least a half a kilometer away. No one else is in the area, just us. We talked and laughed nervously, but I know what made that sound. I still hunt the area. I don't fear them. I think they exist, and if I don't piss them off, then hopefully they'll leave me alone. If I ever see one, I might have a bigger fear factor. I really don't want to ever get real close to one, but seeing one at a distance would be good confirmation of my belief that they exist and are just part of the natural environment around us, stupid humans pretend to understand but are busy destroying. Later that week, we were hunting another area about 20 kilometers away from the first area. Been there about an hour, then we hear a really loud wood knock, like a baseball bat against a tree. It sounded about 4,500 yards away in some big timber up the side of a wide valley, clearly echoed across the little valley. I don't think any hunters were in there. It's possible, but I doubt it. We heard no other knocks, but decided it was time to leave. I also have a friend in northern BC who has pictures of two ape-like animals on his trail cam sitting in a grass clearing. No way these are bears. I hope people will just acknowledge they exist and have been part of the landscape, especially in northwest North America, forever. I hope people can take the hint if one screams at you or throws things at you. You are the intruder. It's time to leave. The bush is their home, not ours. Easy. It is to ours. I think generally they're trying to warn us off with their actions. Don't want to hurt humans, or there would be hunters and loggers torn apart in the bush on a regular basis. It probably happened a few times, unfortunately, and would be quickly covered up by the authorities anyway with some bullshit bear story. Keep telling your stories. Truth is always better than fiction. Great YouTube channel, Arrow Lake Guy. Okay, I think I must have read that before. Oh, and then I got a reply. Let's keep going. Sorry. I replied. Might be better off not seeing it. I wish I never saw one, LOL. I'd love to see your friends' photos if you'd share them. Thanks again, Steve. And he replied. Thanks, Steve. No kidding. I hope I don't bump one at close range like you did. But I've never seen other signs I can't explain, like big rocks perched up and bounced on boulders in the middle of nowhere that would take a heavy equipment to lift. And no equipment was in the area. Or a large log lying in the middle of the old logging road with no skid tracks / tire tracks / dozer tracks near the area. Something lifted it and left it there. I'm close to Granby Park where I hunt, so lots of wilderness and little human activity in that park. I suspect that's a nice quiet place for them. I have some hikes up there planned this summer. Maybe I'll bring them some apples so they eat their fruit and not me. I'll try to get the photos, but he's a bit careful about that. His cabin is on Stewart Lake near Fort St. James. He's an avid moose hunter. Puts frickin' cams up everywhere. He said he put this particular cam up a 2-kilometer hike in from the end of an old skidder trail about 5 years ago. He deliberately hiked in to see what was moving in that area. 2 animals look like mountain gorillas show up on his cam one day. One is sitting back to the cam, the other's looking at the cam. There's some grass in front, so not a perfect Kodak pic, but it looks like a gorilla face in the grass. No way the body shape or head shape is a bear. Not a chance. It has the classic ape-like head shape, black long hair. He thinks they migrate through the area. Probably too cold to hang out in the winter. Food sources might be skinny in the winter up north also, but who knows? I think they eat anything to support that big body mass. With the fires in there last year, I'm sure they moved on. When I was a kid, my parents had a cabin on Anderson Lake halfway down Roaring Creek from Darcy, so I know the area you are in. I used to hike in McGillivray Pass, been up there from the Anderson Lake side and the Braylorn side. Lots of nice country in there. I can see why your area would be a hotbed of activity. I like the potato Sorry, I like the potato theft story. Your buddy must still wonder about that. All right, and there you go. That's, I guess I must have read that before. Maybe I just mentioned the trail camera photos mentioned to me before, because there is 2 or 3 people that have mentioned the guy at Stewart Lake and his trail camera pictures that obviously they all seen. And I remember people from Fort St. James emailed me and told me about the friend with the trail camera photos of the beings. And from southern BC, this guy. There you go. There you go. Another club member. Oddities and those trail camera photo mentions that, well, you better be careful of those pictures, right? Oh, man. Who knows? Maybe someday somebody will share that shit, but even if they do today, it's not really going to matter, is it? Doesn't matter. Until somebody, for the people who think their brains tell them that they need to see a photo or video, which is absolutely so bizarre to me at this stage of the game. But anyway, even for them people, what are you going to need? A clear 4K video of one bleeding out on video or something? Would that be enough? Who knows? I don't know. Don't really give a shit either. If you can't believe your fellow human being here, there's no help for your ass. You're never going to believe anything. You're not going to go anywhere. You're going to remain at go corner on the Monopoly board. Anyway, I'm really rambling away. 2 coffees. Look out. I'm going to get moving. I got shit to do. We have house guests here. Oh, there's a side note. Sarah's brother's here. He's an officer in the military. Great guy. Great guy. And he said the other night they were out on the deck. He's out there in the dark doing something, getting something. They're on the deck on the phone in the back, and he said that he felt like he was being stalked from out the back corner. Couldn't handle it and went back inside the house. Odd. But then again, last night as well, or the night before last night as well, is when my neighbor right across the road said that bear chased him and tried to get him. Big bear in the yard. Crazy, right? I gotta look into that some more too and take care of that problem. Anyway, share my story, howtohunt.com. Get your truth emailed into us. Sarah still has these decals and more in her howtohuntstore.com. If you subscribe for the month, we're going to feed a piss load of kids. A lot. Instead of just a couple households at a time. We're going to go for it. I think I might have to go do that big shop. I got a bunch of food here accumulating in the shop on top of the freezers in the corner where she usually puts everything. And we have guests and they're putting a bathroom downstairs, so I might volunteer me up. She's pretty good at it though. I know she'll let me. I might take my pickup in a trailer and go into Costco and start cleaning the shelves off of food. If she gives me a list, we'll see. Because I need, what is it now? It's late November. I need this to really pick up speed now for my goal that I've got between my ears. It's a big one. So I might do that. And there you go. I'll stop babbling because I don't think I'm going to stop today. See you guys tomorrow.